welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Hey, Falcore. Awesome.
Hello.
It's all right. We're doing this live, right? I figure we're doing it. Okay, we're not actually doing this. All right, so if you're listening to this, you probably already heard I am joined today by Captain Falcore from the YouTube channel and Twitch channel. One of the prominent Sea of Thieves community members who, if you don't know who Falcore is, what are you really doing with your life? What is your goal? Like, you should already know this, man.
Well, you're actually doing a lot better things than I would be doing. So.
Maybe, I don't know. Well, I've seen some stuff on the internet. It seems like people are doing some weird stuff, so we'll kind of put that off and we'll judge that later. But you're joining me today because of a couple reasons. One had to do a lot with some controversial comments that came around my last episode about the Hunter's Call.
Yes. How could you? Could you?
I know. I was thinking that I was happy with where I was, and I misread a comment that then spun into a lot of people being like, "This is ridiculous. How could these two men not agree on the same thing on the internet?"
How could they have differing opinions? They both like Sea of Thieves. How could they have a differing opinion on the matter? It's impossible.
Absolutely ridiculous. They should agree on everything. No, so I wanted to talk about that, but also we got a patch note this last week, as well as a dev update and a few things that kind of popped up as a result of Sea of Thieves news. So I kind of wanted to dive into the Hunter's Call stuff just to kind of get that out of the way so we can get back into all the things we love. But last week I talked about how I was happy with the way the reputation was, and you put out a comment that basically talked about how you wanted to have some changes to the reputation. So could you give a little more clarification on what you talked about in the later posts?
Yeah, well, I mean, I put out the post very badly worded, but basically I can see why you would think that. But I kind of said, well, the post said I want it easier. That's basically what it said. It's not what I meant, but it's what it said. It was saying I want easy mode, but no, that's not what I meant. The thing is, I've noticed that there's so many things with the Hunter's Call that the reputation needs to be rejiggled a little bit. I think I said in one of my posts that if you defeat a Kraken, especially when you're on a sloop, if you defeat a Kraken, you're only going to get 2 Kraken meat. I think it's 4 or 5 if you're on a galleon or a brig. I'm not sure on that, but still. And it's a lot harder defeating a Kraken or a Megalodon than it is fishing up a ruby splashtail. I mean, let's face it.
But they're so rare. I mean, you never see them.
Yeah. No, you don't. It's one of the main things that I never see. In fact, haven't seen a ruby splashtail at all. I've seen about 10 shrouded ghosts though, whilst fishing for a ruby splashtail.
Yeah, I never kill them. I keep telling them to go away because I just don't. I mean, they're a weird anomaly, and I don't want to hurt Joe's pet.
don't want to taint my account with that achievement.
So. God, just thinking about actually having that, or someone walking around with grade 2, that would be, that would be the worst. Yeah. I'd feel so bad. I'd probably have to delete my account at that point if I had grade 2 Shrouded Ghost Hunter.
Well, I already have. I was Captain Falcore before Captain Falcore, but I got the Shrouded Ghost achievement 5 times. I think so I was like, oh, nope, got to delete that. So.
Oh, God, that's the worst. Man, because then you got to reinstall the game and you got to get all your settings and stuff.
You got to buy a new PC. Yeah.
All the work to have to try and go back and get all the skeleton thrones again, because those achievements, those are important. You got to have those, and the beacons ones. Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of work, and it's a lot of skill involved killing or shooting yourself up to the beacon on crooked masts. So. And Marauder's Arch, yeah. I mean, that's not an easy thing. Not everyone can just do that willy-nilly. How did we get on this?
I can't remember. We were talking about some other game.
Oh yeah, we were talking about GTA fishing.
GTA,
That's right.
yeah, GTA fishing.
We were talking.
Is
about
there actually
GTA.
fishing in GTA? I can't remember. Is there?
I don't know.
There should be.
I don't know. I haven't actually played it. I bought it. I actually got it for free from Amazon the other like December of last year. I got it for free because they were selling it for $15. You could buy it for $15. They would give you a $15 credit, and they just sent out the game to me. So I was like, all right, well that's awesome. Haven't touched it. I just wanted to contribute to the MPD. That's all I cared about at that point. I was just like, I'm going to help make sure this game stays in the top 5. I don't care.
Yeah.
So
how did what were we talking about? The Hunter's Call thing. That's just right there.
Yeah. So you were talking about how Krakens and Megalodons are a lot harder to kill and subsequently offer the same amount of reputation as a ruby splashtail.
Yes. And also I think if you sell a cooked ruby splashtail, it sells for more than a chunk of Megalodon meat, which to me doesn't quite seem right. It's like, that's like going to a merchant with a battered cod and he gives you £15 for it, and then you go to a merchant with I don't know, let's say a crayfish, and he gives you like £1 for it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So they need to rebalance it a lot. Like I said, I didn't really word it very well, but I meant that they should be giving better reputation for effort on certain things. So for example, if you killed a megalodon, you would get, and cooked it, of course, you would get a substantial amount more XP or reputation than you would do from just handing in, the average ruby tail or whatever. Which also
makes sense.
I mean, it does, and I mean, especially the kraken meat, because the megalodon meat, I mean, you run into about 20 megalodon every session these days, so it's obviously but the kraken is a very kind of, well, if you know how to summon the kraken, when I say that, I mean if you know when a kraken is going to spawn, then you can sort of market it a little bit.
Let's go ahead and say, so just give some people like some information. So if you don't know how the kraken mechanic works, it's on a timer. As far as I know, it's still a 3-hour timer, but is it still on that?
Well, no, it's the way it works is that the Skull Fort and the skeleton ships are considered like world encounters, and the Kraken is also considered a world encounter. And due to the memory limits of the game, they can't all happen at the same time. So,
which would be amazing.
It would be amazing. But it really would, wouldn't it, to have everything going off at once? But and the skeleton ship, that would be pretty intense. Can we
just fantasize about like a crew on a skeleton fort as a bunch of waves of skeleton ships are sailing around, sailing towards the fort to stop you, and the kraken comes up and starts taking on like skeleton ships and other crews, like coming slowly towards the actual fort that you're sitting there like slaughtering skeleton on. Like
that would be so good.
Yeah. I want that.
But can you imagine the complaints? There'd be those of us who enjoy it, but there'd be those the rest of the people that are like, this is unfair. I bought this game so I can be soloing PvE.
I can't believe I watched a Falcore video and he said I could solo a fort and not have any complaints or worries. I'm here on Reddit sharing my opinions.
Please follow and like.
It's so true though, so true. But it is one of those things where once a fort typically goes down, if you sail away fairly quickly, you can generally spawn a kraken fairly easily. It's not too bad, and if you go, or if you're trying to get the kraken, the best thing to do is go and try and actually complete a fort nearby, or at least if someone's working on a fort, be like out in an open ocean away from an island when it goes down, and the chances of having the kraken pop will be easy or be higher. So so to kind of wrap up on the Hunter's Call thing, your suggestion, which I 100% agree with, is they should really tune how much reputation and gold you get based on the difficulty of the actual meat that you're turning in, not just like a flat rate. And
exactly, because in that way, then if you did want to speed run it, well, you still wouldn't be able to. But if you did want to think, I've only got an hour to play or something, what would be the best way to get the most reputation from the Hunter's Call? You could then go out and do a bit of Megalodon hunting, and then that would give you the best amount of reputation for the most amount of effort. So, but as it stands at the moment, like I don't even know. I'm going to have to really, really test it, because I do know things like the Stormfish give you slightly more reputation than, say, like a Plentiful or something like that. But I'm really going to have to properly test and see which gives you the most reputation, because I think it is the Stormtails that give you the most reputation at the moment.
I think you're right on that. And it's hard to test.
It is, yeah.
Unless you have,
especially when you're.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, especially when you're up at later levels, because I think I'm 27 now in Hunter School, and when you're that level, like handing in a cooked fish, you don't even see, like a solitary cooked fish, you don't even see the reputation go up. It's just this tiny little flick. So
you almost have to have like a separate account with Game Pass just to be able to build like a fresh pirate and go out and
Well, I have actually got a fresh account that I constantly re-roll on for videos. so I'll re-roll him and just get like some proper sort of like data from that. That'll be interesting to do for a video. Actually, there you go. There's a content idea for me. I was just trying to think of content ideas today, and that's just popped into my head. So there you go.
Yay! See, this is the power of collaboration. Is that account just called Falcore Camera? Just so I know.
No, it's Captain Bello, which is the
Captain Bello.
Yeah. He's actually got a voice, that guy. I use him in a few videos, stupid videos I make, and he explains the lore of Sea of Thieves.
Oh yeah,
this
is a rock. Way. This is water. Yeah. I love those.
Exactly.
Those are some of the best. Honestly, it's like just the over the top outrageous videos about the dumbest thing is. So sometimes you just need a good laugh.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the viewers don't get it as well, because they always go, "Looks like Falcore's ran out of content." I'm like, no, I'm just trying to make you laugh. That's what's happening here.
Like, what are you talking about? This is the content.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've had this planned for months. Where's the appreciation for the art?
Exactly. To be fair though, it is sort of a thing where I'm like, I can't be bothered to go into do a really, really in-depth lore video, and I'm getting a little bit sick of it. So I'm just going to like make a stupid video, sort of vent my system, get it all out, and that's where those come from. So.
I don't blame you. Yeah. I honestly don't blame you. There's times where I'll put a little more work into the podcast, and then there's times where I'm just like, I need to just like be stupid. Just have the dumbest thing. If I can just find.
I need to invite Captain Falcore.
Yes. Yeah. I just need to learn if I can get that like falling over something and down the stairs with the dog barking joke. If I can figure, if I can get, if I can find my equivalent for that, I'll be happy.
That clip has been used so many times. It's
It still cracks me up too.
In insider info for you there, that's actually me throwing a cardboard box full of I think they were dried bananas from what I remember. I had this I used to get all this stuff sent to me, Loot Crate and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I used to get these food boxes sent to me, and they were just piling up, and I do not like dry banana. I resent the stuff, and so every time I got dry banana, I threw it into a box, and I thought, well, I'll give it to a homeless person or something one day. I don't know, but eventually I was like, no, this is the perfect use for it. Chuck it down the stairs; it'll sound like I'm falling down them. So there you go.
Oh, that's too funny. That's too funny. Now we've seen behind the curtain. All right. Well, hopefully this has clarified a little bit more about what was going on. Falcore and I are not fighting. We're not angry at each other. Mommy and Daddy are fine. You can go back to watching and listening to our content and not shunning each other. But one thing I did want to talk about with you is the Ivor Novella Award and Robin Beanland. Yeah. Like that to me was like, I didn't know this was coming, but if you haven't heard, Sea of Thieves has actually won probably one of the most prestigious rewards for music and for scoring and stuff is that I've ever heard. I actually had to look this up. I don't know. Were you familiar with this award? But
yes,
when
I was, and I was actually very surprised. I mean, no disrespect to the real. I don't know what his proper name is now. On Twitter, Real Beano. What's his name again?
Oh, Robin Beeland.
That's it, Robin Beeland. I didn't actually think that. Oh, it's going to sound awful. I don't mean it this way, but I never thought he would be put up. I never thought he'd be put up
right now. My God,
because to me, like,
working for 25 years for this.
I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry.
No, we love him.
But the point I'm trying to make is that to me that reward has always been handed out to like people like Hans Zimmer and stuff like that, and I've always thought he is in that kind of class of like music and sound production. But for him to actually be put forward for that, I was like, this is amazing. Like, there's anybody that deserves it the most, it's this guy. And for him to just the nomination, and then when he actually won it, I was like, this is just the greatest thing ever.
Yeah,
it really was. It's like,
well, let's be honest. I mean, most like awards ceremony or most like groups that have like prestigious awards and stuff don't typically look at games for this kind of stuff. Like, this is like we're kind of it's funny because games are separate from movies, because one is something that everyone can enjoy. Well, almost everyone can enjoy without having to be bothered to do anything, whereas games, you have to play them to actually enjoy the content from them, unless you're watching videos and stuff. So like, I understand like why, you know, most people wouldn't look at video games and be like, oh, well, they put a lot of work in there, let's give them an award. It's like, well, yeah, they do, and they probably should be recognized, but we're still in such a young mindset as far as games are concerned. That people haven't really thought about that until honestly our generation has gotten to the point where we're kind of the ones at the heads of companies being like, no, you guys really should be paying attention to this.
Yeah.
But so if you haven't heard, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's an untapped source. It really is, because there's so many games out there that have got fantastic soundtracks. Some games that I don't even like, but they've got a fantastic soundtrack.
Yeah. There's a what was it? The Crypt of the Necrodancer. They're coming out with that Zelda game that, and this is kind of a weird sidetrack, but that was one of those games. Like, it has a score that is just so enthralling to me. I love listening to that because the music is so good. And I've never played the game, and I have no interest in really jumping into it until, you know, I get bored one day. But yeah, that's like another one of those things where it's like I just listen to the score because it's so good. So really happy to hear that Robin is getting a lot of praise for the score and the team in general over there, the music crew and stuff. They've done such a great job with the game's music, and it really shows. It's up there with like Black Flag music and stuff. Like,
yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And it's funny because both of those have hurdy-gurdies in the music.
Yes, they do. Yeah,
it's so funny. This hurdy-gurdy is the thing that people are just like, wait, it's a what? And you do do what with it? But it just makes such a good sound.
It really does. Yeah. It's such a strange instrument. I've actually got a hurdy-gurdy somewhere. Yeah. It probably doesn't work anymore because they need a lot of maintenance. They really, really do. Ooh. And it's been locked in an attic for probably about 8 years now. So it's probably just all bent and warped. But yeah.
Rough.
Yeah. But in some ways that makes it sound better. So
I know. Isn't that the funny thing? Like, yeah. The weather-worn one that you would expect to be like out at sea, something that would be warped from the moisture.
Yeah, exactly.
That's too funny. But yeah, just kind of round off. Yeah, congratulations, Robin. It's such an amazing thing that you guys got that you got that award, and I'm so happy for the any kind of accolades this game has been getting. It's so refreshing to see people recognizing
deserves a lot more as well. Deserves a lot more than it's been getting.
It really does. The US centric gaming media coverage has panned any kind of like content releases that Sea of Thieves has put out, and they focus solely on shooters and stuff, and it's so infuriating to me because I'm like, you guys are missing such a good game right now. You really are. And they'll probably come back in like a year and be like, oh my god, this is the most amazing game in the world. Where were we? And it's like, you're paying attention to stuff like Anthem. So congrats.
God, Anthem.
Yeah.
God.
So speaking of things that the media is like wanting from this game, Windows Central put out an actual article of top 50 things that Sea of Thieves needs, and I don't want to dive into 50 of them, but I pulled some of the ones that I thought were either good ideas or like scratching my head ideas, and I kind of wanted to run down these with you. Were there any when you were looking at it that really kind of popped out that you didn't that weren't on this list that we're going to go over?
There was, I think, if I'm thinking of the right list here, because I've been reading quite a few of these things from people, there was one that was it was boarding axes. That's the only. Was it boarding axes or was it? Hold on a second. Let me just have a quick look.
Yeah,
because I think it was like number 14 or something.
And that's one that I think is one that we could safely assume will eventually make it to the game too, because boarding axes are actually in the game as far as a model. Same thing with like fiddles and banjos and stuff. So it's something that we know they've kind of like worked on, at least prototyped, and that it may just not fit into the lore side of things as to why they need to introduce that yet. But I feel like that's one that will actually pop in there eventually. One of the things that they did mention was like spears, axes, maces, and beyond, which kind of falls into that territory, but I don't really see spears being, or maces in particular.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would be good if they were just purely cosmetic. They didn't offer any type of different, combat, because it would be nice to like just have a pirate that has got a mallet rather than a sword. You know what I mean? Just for aesthetic reasons, that would be kind of cool. But I think if they incorporated too many different types of weapons with different hit ratings and distance and stuff, it would just cause a hell of a lot of work for the development team. It really would.
But is that something you want them to flesh out?
Not really. No, I think there was one, actually. There's one. The one I would like them to add some silly things, and I think one of the things was on that list was fish as weapons. Yeah, and I thought yes, that even if it didn't cause a lot of damage, just to slap somebody with a fish would be an amazing thing. But also things that extra things added as well, such as, well, for example, not a lot of people have thought about this, but I've started doing it a lot. When I board an enemy ship, whilst I'm boarding it, I will eat 3 or 4 maggots as I'm boarding it, because then when I'm running around slashing at people with my sword, I'm throwing up on them, and then of course it blinds them and they can't see anything. So I've been doing that quite a lot. But yeah, just silly things like that. Nothing that would change the pace of the combat, but something that would add that little bit of benefit with a good laugh incorporated at the same time. So bait has definitely been one of those things that I think has really kind of because it doesn't make you sick in the sense that you have to be drunk to get sick, so you can actually just throw up for the sake of throwing up and not have it really affect your ability to play. But it is definitely like the tactical chunder, as the achievement's called. Tactical chunder, yeah.
So what do you like going down this list? I pulled out like crossbows and arrow-based weapons. Is that something is that kind of fall into the same territory that you're happy with the combat and you're not really?
I'm never happy with the combat. So that's most of the community is never happy with the combat. That's just what happens in games like this. Nobody's ever happy with the combat. But I think they just crossbows, stuff like that. If they were going to add crossbows and bow and arrows, I think they should be in conjunction for other things, not for combat. So maybe a crossbow that you've got that's basically like a portable harpoon gun, that kind of thing. So you can harpoon treasure toward you and then hold it and then take it to your ship. That sort of stuff, but nothing to do with combat, because I think we've got everything we need, really. We've got long range, we've got mid range, we got close range, and then we've got melee. That's all you really need.
Yeah, that was kind of my theory behind why I wouldn't want crossbows, because we've had guns, and guns like flintlock pistols and stuff tend to be more piratey in that sense. Some of the other things that I thought were kind of funny about this list were like chain shot and grab shot cannonballs.
Yeah, grab shot. Yeah.
And I was like, why have they never found a cursed cannonball in their life? Like, is that just not a thing?
Yeah.
Because we kind of have that. Like, that's one of the beauties of the change in ship damage plus the cursed cannonballs is you can anchor them, or you can raise their sails, and then you can just blow up their masts, and it's the same.
Yeah, exactly. There's no need for it. There's no need for those extra types. I mean, it would be cool, but there's no need for it. So
yeah. One topic that I did want to touch on, because they did mention a couple cool things that I think would be really cool. Things like whirlpools, cyclones, more hazards as far as weather goes, and ship quarters customizations and stuff. Some of those things would be really cool. I don't see how ship quarter customizations would work with a 4-person crew all trying to work out like what they want the ship to look like. Yeah. But there were a couple things in here that I feel like they put in because they were things that people didn't understand about the game that they just wanted to toss in here because they knew someone would click on it and be like, oh yeah, that's what I want. And it's like vertical progression and persistent inventory. Two things that I think, like, one I kind of see, and then another I just don't want at all. The persistent inventory, I'd like to be able to have like at least some of the stuff that I log out with, or at least if I'm being able to swap between ships to get more people on. I'd hate to lose like all the cursed cannonballs and grubs and stuff that I had just worked on farming up just because I wanted to bring in a new person into the game with me. So something like that might help bridge the gap until they can kind of work out how they bring in dynamic changing for ship types. Because I think that's the real fix, right? Like if you want to go from crew to crew, or if you want to change up crew size, then the best way to do it would just be able to scuttle your ship and bring in a new ship, the type of ship that you want, and then have the other people join up on you.
That's something I have wanted for a while, to be able to go to a shipwright and say, right, I want to have a brigantine now, and it changes the crew size. But the problem, of course, the problem is with that is that if the server's already full, how does it negotiate whether it should be bringing extra people on board?
That's where I feel like the server size should be able to be. I think they need to increase the server size, but not actually add the number of ships that can jump into it, and then allow for this flexibility. That way,
so like have saved slots sort of thing for bigger crews.
So say there are like, the max number of galleons or the max number of sloops, but one person wants to bump up to a galleon, then there's a little breathing room for that ship to change to a galleon and bring on more people. And it would put more, it wouldn't be changing the number of ships, but it would be changing the number of crews, which should be something that is always available if you have smaller size crews and you want to go up to higher size crews. Like, that space should be there. It shouldn't be too big, because I mean, if you have the max number of galleons, then you can't change a galleon to something bigger and get more people on the server. But if you already have the max number of ships and they're all sloops, then feasibly that space should already be there, because they could all be galleons, possibly. Or actually, no, I guess that's not true. I'm not working that math out correctly.
Sorry, do maths this time of the day.
Yeah, no. I talk, I don't do math. Sorry.
I wanted school, I would have gone to schooling.
Right. And then vertical progression. Can we agree that that's just not something that I think Sea of Thieves needs?
No, it's not. No. It's one of the main. It's one of the main things that draws me toward the game, is the fact that I can bring anybody I want into the game and they can do exactly what I'm doing. There's no well, obviously they can't go on Athena if they're not an Athena, but you know what I mean. They can do the same combat, they can do the same missions, they can go to the same places. If they're level 1, they've only just come into the game, they can go to the Devil's Roar whenever they want. They can take on a Megalodon whenever they want, And I think if they had a different system like that, where there's a new player coming into the game and he's getting destroyed by some level 10 Athena who's got a minigun strapped to the front of a ship, it's just
something ridiculous just, like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's already the case. Like, I feel like there isn't necessarily vertical progression, but there is in the sense that there's like a sense of experience gap. Like, I had a friend of mine on another Discord, Silver. He messaged me today actually, and was telling me that he was kind of bummed out because he had 15 out of the 20 chests that he was digging up in like 1 out of the 10 skulls that he was working on. And he was going to go turn those in, and he got slaughtered by a galleon crew of pirate legends. And I was like, dude, that really sucks. I'm sorry. There's not much that until you get good with sailing, there's not much you can really do against that. Like, you have to be aware. You have to really know how to sail. You have to be able to use islands in your sails to outmaneuver the larger ships and to prevent them from getting onto your ship, so that you can do the drop offset stuff, and to make sure that you turn in more frequently than what you currently are. Try not to hoard as much so it doesn't feel as bad.
Exactly.
But the vertical progression,
it's stuff you learn over a time. Really, it's just these things happen. Unfortunately, it's part of the game. But
yeah, and that's where I feel like the vertical progression is it's not necessarily a tangible like increase in power, but the more weathered of a sailor you are, the less likely you'll have problems in the game. You'll be able to tackle more. If you soloed a Kraken, there's a point where you're like, okay, I know, like, worst case scenario, I might get sucked up while I'm being wrapped. And I could probably still make it back to my ship and save it, because I know how much a bucket of water can pull out of my hull, and how many holes I have how many holes my ship can take before I can't out bail the water coming in, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just
there were a couple dumb ones in here that I was not impressed with, like ripping off the Apex Legends ping system. Like, really? We don't need everything from all other games to be able to do that. Yeah, I'd love to be able to slide, but I feel like the contextual menus in the game are still good enough that you can be playing with people that aren't on microphone and be able to communicate what you want from them. So, and then optional third-person view, which I think it's
pointless. The whole point of the first person view was to create a sense of danger. So if they make a third person view, it's just getting rid of that aesthetic in the game. I think there was a prototype video showing where they actually played with third person view to see what it was like, and they actually said that it was not as what's the word I'm looking for? Not as immersive as having it in first person. I do agree, because like if you're in third person, you can see over the bow of your ship, you can see what's coming in from behind you. You've got a wider view of perspective. Whereas if you're first person, you're only seeing what's directly in front of you, and that's what I like. I like to be constantly having to look over my shoulder because I can't see what's behind me. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, that was part of the fear of going out into open water and knowing that sharks are out there is you don't hear the sharks. There's maybe like a small audio clue to let you know like that a shark is swimming in, but until you get bit and that noise comes in, it's just shocking. It freaks me out every time I get bit, and unless I'm actually expecting it and actually fighting a shark, but. That is the having that first person perspective really does add to the immersion. You feel like you're digging up that chest. You feel like you're fighting that other pirate and dueling with them, and you feel like you're firing the cannons. And Rare has done such a good job of making our character models look natural in the environment
Yes,
when
yeah.
they are doing stuff, that it's like, okay, I can look on an island and I can see someone digging something up, and to them it looks like they're digging something up because they're the ones sticking the shovel in the ground. But from my perspective, they are actually digging up dirt and tossing it over their shoulder.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah.
I would hate to see this game ever have like a third person perspective, just because it would offer a little more visibility for the people that aren't doing their due diligence of paying attention to what's going on in their surroundings, and
Yeah.
learning that sense of I don't even know what just like needing to constantly like look up, check the horizon, go back to
Yeah.
what you're doing, find a high spot, jump up there, check to see if anyone's close. No, okay, our coast is clear, go back down and start doing what you're doing and stuff. Like
Yeah.
learning how to do that is integral to surviving in this game, and that's part of the pleasure of it.
Yeah, exactly.
The last thing I wanted to talk about is something that I actually really am hoping comes more often, and that's the seasonal events and contests. And I likened this comment more to what they did with the double gold, double XP weekend, where I felt like they recognized that they wanted to push people to get to Pirate Legend before the anniversary update came out.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I thought that was great for the game. I thought that was, I mean, I know, what was it, back in December that Joe had mentioned that there was like the highest concurrency that they had seen since launch. When they were doing the Gilded Athenas and stuff like that. Like I really feel like the Build Rat Adventures is great when they want to add smaller content updates, but to be perfectly honest, them adding things like the mercenary missions and the Gilded missions and the double XP weekends, I think those are things that would really kind of add some flavor to each week throughout a month. And I
totally
desperately
agree.
yeah. And I wanted to ask you if are there, like, do you want them to do kind of like what they did with the Gilded Athenas, where they have like a holiday event and like a Halloween event and stuff? Like, are you looking for more of those?
Oh yeah, definitely. I loved those events. They were fantastic.
Okay.
I definitely think they should have some proper like sort of pirate themed events, because there was there was a proper pirate holiday. Oh god damn it! What was it called? I keep on thinking the Blood Moon. I don't think that's right. I'm gonna have to Google that later. But there's a few astrological well, not necessarily
Events.
pirates, but buccaneer type events where they would celebrate a certain constellation or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah,
but once I look that up, they should do stuff like that, so it's very keep within the pirate lore. And also
do you think they could add stuff in there that's like pub crawls or being able to have things that would be more piratey?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, a pub crawl is a great idea. You've got to go to every tavern. You've got to drink a certain type of drink. They say each tavern supplies a new type of grog, and every tavern, the grog does something slightly different to your character. So you go to the Daggertooth outpost, you drink your grog, and you get like the venom effect on you, and it lasts for like 10 minutes or something, and you have to get back in your ship and get to the other outpost before that effect wears off, and then there's stuff like that. That would be awesome.
They could definitely do some fun stuff. Belching, replacing vomit with fire, just belching fire. I think that would be a great idea. Hold your lantern up to your face and you just belch and just like get all this, just setting stuff ablaze and chasing pigs with belching fire. I could see so many videos of trying to cook pigs before they're actually killed with belching fire. And I agree. I'm right there with you. I love the Festival of the Damned. I thought it fit really well, and the whole weekly stream that they did with the face paint and the costumes was absolutely fantastic. I really loved it. And the whole festival, or the Christmas event that they did, with all the garland and the music and stuff. Like it didn't seem to do too well on YouTube, but I didn't expect it to. But I really just wanted to have like a 1 hour Yule log from Sea of Thieves. So I just sat there and recorded an hour of me sitting in front of Duke the Dark Lord in front of the fireplace while the music was going, and it was great because the music was it was all kind of Christmassy themed. You know, they added some sleigh bells in there, and it sounded great. But I'm kind of hoping that we get a few more events like that throughout the year, something that really kind of celebrates, like, you know, the summer equinox and stuff, and being able to have some fun with that.
I do actually remember it was long before Tall Tales was ever even mentioned, and there was some screenshots being sort of thrown around the place on various forums and Google image results and stuff of a chest which actually now we know to be the chest that you receive from the Wild Rose. And I remember people were speculating whether that was going to be a chest for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And people saying they're going to have a Valentine's Day event. And I was very disappointed. Yeah. I mean, I'm not really a Valentine's type person. Me and my wife both think it's a very kind of, you know, commercialized thing. Like, why have one day of the year to celebrate your love for someone when you can do it every day of the year, you know? But still,
controversial from Captain Falcore.
Controversial. Yeah. There goes my subscribers.
How dare you. Now you're safe.
It was a very disappointing they didn't have anything like that, and I had so many ideas for that as well, because I was thinking you could have like. Because all Valentine's Day is supposed to be about love and giving and sharing and stuff, so I thought you could everybody could have a chest when they log on that's like a little heart chest that you can't cash in yourself, you can't make any money on it whatsoever, but what you can do is put it on your ship and give it to somebody else, and it's kind of like giving out love type thing. I thought that would be a cool thing. But
I was actually thinking that was kind of what we were going to get for Christmas, actually, is you would like you would dig up something, you would go reverse pirate someone, and you only got credit if they turned it in. And you know, it would be one of those things is like, hey, you know, let's go turn this in. You can get some free gold. I'll get the credit, and then we'll go have a grog in the tavern kind of thing.
And then I'll kill you.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah. So, but yeah, I was looking forward to. I too thought that the Wild Rose stuff that we were seeing data mine stuff on was going to be tied into a Valentine's Day thing. It wasn't, but to be perfectly honest, I'm actually kind of happy with what they came out with instead too. Because the Wild Rose Tall Tale was great.
It really was. Yeah.
Trying to think. So. To kind of push on, we did get an update this last week, and it seems like this update was mostly just bug fixes and trying to work on some of the things that were issues with people having problems with completing Tall Tales and stuff. But the one thing that I wanted to bring up with you, and this has kind of been echoed around the rest of the community, is the curse that you get at the end of all of the commendations, not representing uniformly for everyone. And I wanted to ask you, because in my mind, I think it's kind of cool that everyone looks a little different. All the gold hoarders tend to look different as far as their gold or their curse. Is this something that you're okay with them doing, like a uniform curse of?
Well, I mean, from a technical perspective, yes, but from a aesthetic perspective, no. It would be nice if once you get the Gold Hoarder curse, you've got like 4 or 5 of them, and you can choose between those 4 or 5. Rather than just everybody looking identical, because I've seen so many people now. It's the numbers are rising steadily, but I'm seeing more and more people running around with their shirts off with the Gold Hoarder's curse. And I was on an open crew the other day actually, and there was 3 people. All my crew members, apart from me, had the Gold Hoarder curse, and I'm like, you all look pretty much identical, because it does cover a large majority of the body. But you just all look identical, and it would be great if you could, have different types. So you could have one that just covers your eye, or you could have one that covers your entire torso, or you could have one that only covers one arm, like Rathbone and stuff like that. I think definitely need to change it.
I think it would be interesting if we had one, but in the options to apply it, they gave you a radial, and the radial just kind of shifted the texture on you, so that, say, if you're at the 12 o'clock position on the face of a clock, if you rotated it to like a 3 o'clock position, the whole texture would wrap around your body.
Right, okay.
So the shape of it would essentially be the same, but you could move it around the actual part of your body. Something kind of like that to actually to that way it wouldn't change the actual skin texture, just the XYZ placement of it on your pirate. Although I have no clue how hard that would actually be to program. I leave that for better minds.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, thinking about how they would do it, I suppose it would be easier to have 4 or 5 different looks rather than to have a radial menu, because then they'd have to do that. Unless if they had the radial menu for use in other things, then it would make more sense. Like, for example, just regular tattoos. Like, if you had a radial menu for those as well, so you could position tattoos where you want them. Give it. But to just have that radial menu just for the one specific curse, it would be, And also, one thing I wanted to bring up, actually, that I forgot to write down was, I noticed as well the curse for the Order of Souls. I only noticed this the other day when I was live streaming and somebody told me about it, but the flavor text for it says that the Order of Souls curse that you get from which one is that? Is it
I think that's 2.
I want to say
it's Tall Tales 2.
Yeah, but the flavor text for it says that it's Kraken blood. And it's
really?
it says that's how the Order of the Souls look into the Netherrealm, by covering their eyes in Kraken blood.
Well, heck, if that's the case, then how come every time I slash a Kraken, I don't have these mystical visions of where all the treasure is?
Yeah, exactly. God damn it!
That's what I want to know.
although saying that, I've never been off the ship with the Kraken blood in my eyes, so who knows?
That's true.
Yeah.
They did fix some things with this update too that kind of let you use the harpoon in new ways, and one of them is actually to be able to harpoon people from the Kraken's maw or maws.
Yes.
Which I think was, I never thought about doing that, but now that they mention it, it makes a lot of sense that would be something that should be possible. And it looks like they did that with a lot of things. Like, a lot of harpoon interactions are reacting properly and stuff. Now that I think about it, the thing that I was kind of upset about is kind of like with the tattoos, where you can only have one set active at a time. And from what I understand, the same thing applies to the curses as well. Like, you can only have one of the curses active at any time. And that's kind of a bummer, because I think, I would love to just see some really old, gangly looking pirate who just has like all the scars, all the tattoos, all the curses, and just be like, I've had a good life. I'm ready to go now.
Yes, exactly.
Like, my God, that man has been through a lot. Would you like to buy me a grog? Sure. What do you got to tell me, buddy?
Come inside for a while.
Stay a while and listen.
Come meet the missus.
Have fun storming the skeleton fort. So I think there's definitely some room for growth in as far as like the actual tattoos and curses, the cosmetics for your person and stuff, because I think a lot of people tend to gravitate towards certain ones, and they kind of build their story up, but we really don't have a good way to represent that all the stuff we've done. Like, I can't show that I've been scorched by the devil's roar and have the scars from the fights from the cursed sails, and being able to show that I've taken on the gold hoarder and stuff. Having a way to really kind of represent all of that at once would be kind of cool in my mind. I just don't know how difficult of a thing that is. with the introduction of curses, are there any that you're looking forward to possibly having in the future?
Oh, certainly, yeah. I mean, we talk about it quite often, but a merfolk curse would be awesome. I'm not talking about having a fishtail. That would just be taking things too far. Also, it'd look quite awkward on the deck of a ship flapping around. But
True.
but
A lot
just
harder to
maybe
load a cannon.
Yeah, true. It'd be a lot easier to be a cannonball, though. But yeah.
Oh, that's true. A lot more aerodynamic.
Yeah, true. But yeah, some scale sort of thing going on I think would be cool, like kind of scale texture around the eyes, or maybe even like giving you web fingers or something, something like that. But I would definitely like to see like better, not that I'm saying the curses are awful, but better curses in the sense that like the Order of Souls curse, I would like to see a skeleton curse that is very similar to like Wanda the Warsmith. So one of your arms becomes a skeleton arm, things like that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's I know. So Nick, who's formerly Captain Nightmare, is now Tobacco Skunk. That was something that during the whole Wanda kind of weeks leading into Curse Sales, that was something that when we found out about that tech being introduced for characters, and that they could actually segment parts of the body to have different textures on. That was something that we were very excited about, because he and I have been a huge proponent for the Sea of the Damned and being able to explore that realm. And gosh, we got to. Oh man. Okay, sorry. This is. I just realized where we're at. We're at over 50 minutes, and I haven't even gotten to talk about some of the lore stuff that we wanted to talk about. But yeah, being able to have curses that affect you, like being able to be part skeleton or part cursed and stuff, and slowly kind of build up your story, your lore based on some of the options given, I think are some of the things that Rare really, really needs to find a way to put in.
Yeah. I'm sure that's probably where the direction they're going. I think these are just like kind of teasers for now. They're probably working on better ones to come. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Hopefully. And for things to come, we had a couple ideas about what possibly could be coming in future updates based on some of the end game stuff that we found with Tall Tales. So you want to talk about some of the stuff we found down in the Shores of Gold?
Yeah. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of stuff on Shores of Gold. I mean, it's mentioned in the book. Well, we call it Tribute Peak because that's what it's called. But I mean, obviously the Gold Hoarder's lair is not exclusive to the Gold Hoarder. He moved in. He's a tenant. He took that area from whatever originally had that area. And obviously that was the Ancients, or it could have been a mix of the Ancients and the Merfolk. But looking at all the architecture and stuff down there, there's it's bringing to light what this architecture is we see in all of the world that has been there before. The sort of the archways, and then those weird kind of faces that was present in the Unmarked Island at N13 and other places. But now we're actually seeing what those things do, and those unmarked faces seem to be just things that will let out water, like in the puzzle crypts. That's what happens when you start it off. They open their mouths, water comes pouring out, and it fills up the room. And there's so many areas within the game. In fact, there's an area at N13 that is separate from the cave, and it's in between the reefs. And if you dive down, there's a whole area that's got these sort of archways and those heads and everything, and it's completely flooded. You can't. There's no surface to it. It's in a big cave, and you can't get to the top. But it looks like a very sort of ceremonial type area, and it's been completely flooded. And it really does make me think. I mean, I'm really going off on a tangent here, but it really does make me think that maybe the Sea of Thieves had a lot more land on it before the Merfolk came along, and they used these sort of artifacts and stuff to create more water, so they had more of a civilization to roam around in. And it's the reason why there's not much land mass in the Sea of Thieves, because the mermaids were like, well, this is our home, we'll leave you a bit of land, but yeah.
So what you're saying is that the merfolk basically harnessed the idea of manifest destiny and decided that it was their right to start flooding the lands and taking over the seas in Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, kind of. I mean, there must have been there must have been a point where I think the merfolk are like the most ancient of things there, aren't they? Because there was the ancients, but I think they kind of moved in afterwards. I think the merfolk were there long before them. I might be wrong on that. But,
no, I'm inclined to agree. I'm fairly certain that the merfolk have definitely been around a lot longer than the humans, and that the humans just kind of cropped up out of nowhere, and it wasn't until the earrings that they made, the pearl earrings, that allowed us to actually communicate with the merfolk.
Yeah.
So
I think there's but obviously there's a lot of stuff down in the. I know they're just waypoint markers, but the waypoint markers, or the thing that you interact with to get back to your crew, are mermaid statues, and they're non-cursed mermaid statues. They're just, as you would see a merfolk within the game. And for them to put that down just as waypoint markers, but for them to put that in the cabin where the Gold Hoarder resides, makes me believe that place. Wasn't there a part in the book where they talked about there was a sort of a palace or a meeting area they went to, which was like where the ancients and the merfolk used to meet up and discuss things about the world. It was kind of like a House of Commons for the ancients, and I'm wondering if that's this area is one of those such places, which the Gold Hoarder's like taken over and put all his gold there. Actually,
It's interesting because there was a part in Athena's Fortune where they talked about how Mercia and Ramses found one of these meeting places between the ancients and the merfolk, and there was always an offering that came with it, but that was typically where they would have these kind of conversations about stories and information about what's going on between the two worlds. And I'm definitely, I feel like this is just me kind of thinking on my like what I think actually happened, but I feel like those statues were something that were put in as kind of like like they're used as waypoints now, but I think at the time when the ancients were at their temple, that these were used to kind of like summon the merfolk to the temple. Like they kind of like use this as kind of like a it's a weird reason or weird thing to kind of compare this to, but kind of the red phone on the president's desk to call Batman. Like,
yeah, sure, I get you.
I know it's a weird reference, but for some reason it's like I feel like that the statues were kind of like a tuning fork to kind of summon all of the merfolk, or maybe not a tuning fork, like a dog whistle. I don't know. That's degrading. I shouldn't be saying, but I can't think of a way to like a spotlight in the sky. Yeah. It's either that theory, which I kind of lean more towards that because I feel like we're going to be interacting with those a lot more in the future, or it's one of those things that I think either that Wrathbone put down in there as a way to kind of protect himself from the traps, because he knows that that's where he would come back if he did get sent to the ferryman while he was having his minions and stuff bring down treasure. But that doesn't hold up as well in my mind.
Yeah.
So
because I mean you can see that the entire area below, well, I called it his cabin, but it's not really. It's more kind of a place. It's because I mean he obviously he put down all the traps, he put down all the spikes and the booby traps that you have to go through. Well, not necessarily him, but he had a part in it. But there's if you look at the architecture and try and imagine it without all that stuff, there's so many open areas, like that big pit with all of which you have to turn the mast to get over the sort of the platform bit where you've got to run over the masts and jump, but there's so many spikes at the bottom there. But if you imagine none of those spikes being there, none of those booby traps being there, that was a huge open space that could have very easily been filled with water, and it could have been the area in which they used to talk with the merfolk or summon them there or something. I would love to go down there, actually. I'm going to try that at some point. I would love to see if there's a place where I can jump down and not get killed, and get my torch out and see if there's any secrets there that are lying around. That would be kind of cool.
I've definitely spent quite a while from time to time just kind of like rubbing up against walls and trying to find any kind of little tidbits of information or any kind of weird stuff that's over there.
Yeah.
And this discussion all kind of leads me to two things, which were kind of lore points that I wanted to talk on that deal with Diving Bell and her reference as weird as it is, Chris Alcock, who was the author for Athena's Fortune, actually responded to a tweet that didn't specifically mention my inquiries about the character in the journals that Briggsy wrote about the girl or the woman who had the pearl earrings, the merfolk earrings. And he actually confirmed that was actually Diving Bell's earrings. And that's who he overheard talking about the Shroud Breaker. And I was kind of wondering, because in my mind, the person, the two people, or the person that had the merfolk earrings was Mercia, and she was talking with Ramses about the Shroud Breaker in the first Tall Tales, according to her journals. But do you know why Diving Bell would have been talking about the Shroud Breaker?
No, actually, no. I think there's a few things within Tall Tales that a little bit contradicting of the lore. Let's just say that there's a few things that for example, the very first Shroudbreaker one where the Pirate Lord's talking about being pursued by the Burning Blade, and I remember when I first read that, and I was like, but in Tales of Sea of Thieves, he never met with the Pirate Lord, and the Pirate Lord was still actually a living person at the point when it's all a little bit weird. But no, I haven't actually come up with a theory as to why that is a thing. Maybe that's something that will come in the future. But
that brings up another point too. Is we haven't heard of any interactions between Flameheart and Ramsey either. No, which is kind of interesting. So from what funny enough, thanks to Picaroon or Aaron, who's over at Rare now, he talked about placing the journals for Tall Tales, and mentioned how Chris was actually the one that wrote all of the lore for those. Okay. So and in my mind, that's really strange, because like you said, there are some things in there that don't quite line up. Like why would Diving Bell have earrings that we know she found, but why would she be talking about the Shroud Breaker? And also, why is Ramses being attacked by the Burning Blade? And there's definitely a large gap between what they know and what we know as far as lore goes, and where they could potentially be pushing us in the future, which brings into question something that I've wondered, and that's something that you brought up on Twitter the other day about how many daggers are in the back of the Pirate Lord. And we found out that it's 3 thanks to that, and I couldn't honestly remember prior to the update like how many he had in his back. I knew he had daggers in his back, but I didn't pay attention to how many. No. But he's got 3 daggers in his back, and you had a theory about. Well, actually, I'll let you tell everyone.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's never been explained. I know that Chris Alcock is bringing out a new book, a new novel. Is it this year he's bringing it out, or has he just started on it this year? I can't remember, but
I think the work's been. Yeah, I don't think it's coming out this year, but I think it is coming out next year.
Okay, but he we still don't know how the Pirate Lord died. It doesn't even say that at the end of the first novel. It's just sort of, it ends with him. Is in it? I've forgotten the name of the other protagonist in the book, but she gives him his ring back, and then he explains to her that Athena was his wife and all that. Anyway, but
Mercia?
Was it Mercia? Yeah, it was Mercia, wasn't it? Yes, yeah,
his first mate.
Just couldn't remember the name of them, but it's still not explained why he died. And I mean, I don't think he was betrayed. I really don't think he was betrayed. A lot of people think he was, but if he was betrayed, then why is he in Athena's? He seems very happy about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
he's always got a smile on his face. He's he never once mentions like I'm here not from my own will or anything like that. And I think he was around. I think that he became a spirit, didn't he, before the Ship of the Damned was a thing.
So yeah, there's a weird kind of like thing, because I don't know about you, but I tend to feel like the person that became the ferryman was a friend of Ramsey's, because I feel like there had to be some sort of pack involved, because the ferryman wasn't around during the time that Morrow, or Captain Morrow and her crew died in the Devil's Roar, because they didn't come back. But he was definitely around after Ramses became the pirate lord spirit in Athena's Fortune. So I feel like there had to be some sort of connection between
him and
Ramses. Like Ramses, in my, I don't know if I'm kind of working out like a theory in my head right now, shooting from the hip. I'm just thinking like Ramses died as an agreement with people involved, and he went and bargained to whoever to have the ferryman become the ferryman, so that adventurers could sail in the Sea of Thieves without fear of death, and they could continue to have their voyages until their time was up. And as such, the master of the ferryman is either Ramses or someone that Ramses made a deal with. But for Ramses to get to the Sea of Damned, he had to have enough unfinished business to warrant being a spirit, if I'm just kind of pulling from other lore for why we believe in specters and stuff, for him to be able to make that kind of a bargain. So to say that he was betrayed, I think or that he was betrayed is a little far. I definitely agree that I don't think he was betrayed, but I can't think of three people who would agree to stabbing him in the back before he died.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, because I said in my tweet that he's got 3 daggers in his back, which incidentally is the same amount of daggers needed to vote on a voyage when you're on a galleon. And I like to think that it's in some ways symbolic, because he is literally the greatest pirate that ever lived. Everything that you hunt for in the Sea of Thieves is basically a result of him and his crew, in a sense. And I like to think that those daggers are more kind of a symbolic gesturing that he is the voyage. You know what I mean? He is literally the voyage. And that's why he's got 3 daggers in his back, because he's been voted for. You know, that's maybe, I don't know, maybe that's the ceremony to become the Pirate Lord. You need to be stabbed in the back 3 times. I don't know. But
I can't believe you're objectifying Ramses. He is more than just some goal, some achievement. He has purpose and feelings of his own. My gosh, I'm sorry, listeners. Don't listen to this objectifying rhetoric coming from this.
I'm gonna say something controversial. It isn't all about the glory. Let's just face it here.
Sometimes we just want the $10,000 thing, man.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. The thing is, like, remember, it's not about the gold, it's about the glory. By the way, here's a skull. It's worth quite a lot of money.
Yeah, don't lose this.
Yeah, but still, I think that I don't think he was stabbed in the back by people who wanted to do it. I think it was more of a ceremony of such, or I don't know where the law would go with this, but I think that, like you said, I think he definitely was friends with the ferryman. And I think, looking at the law books for the ferryman, I think he was already in sort of a dying state before he took this potion or something that he said he downed the potion to kill himself. And I think it was a sense of like, maybe the ferryman, what's the word? I tell you what, my brain is not operating properly today. I couldn't even remember the word brilliant earlier on. I was trying to spell brilliant. I couldn't spell it.
Oh man. I'm trying to think of, like, I'll kind of vamp for you a bit, but I'm trying to think of like whether, like, in the story of him dying, he talks about, like him drinking poison and going to the top of Kraken's fall and dying underneath the actual the dying tree and stuff. And that is so out of the complete area of where I thought his story was actually at. Like, I actually expected a lot larger of a story to be kind of told, and then to come to find out, like, it's like he almost committed suicide for some reason to become the ferryman. And I don't, like, was he being chased? Was he in fear? Was he already dying? Who was he becoming ferryman for? What was the decisions leading up to his decision to do that?
Well, the thing is, he talked. Well, not I don't know. I can't actually remember who it is who wrote the journals for that.
The kid.
Woman. That's it. It was a kid, wasn't it? Yeah, but he was ghost hunting basically. But But I think, if I had to say, I'm going to go completely out on a limb here, but I'm going to say that the ferryman was in maybe not part of the crew with the Pirate Lord, but I'm going to say he was good friends with Ramsay, and I think I'm going to say that Ramsay was already dead, and the ferryman, using his lantern to peer through to the netherworld, somehow talked to Ramsay, and Ramsay was like, hey dude, you got to help me out here. Like, I got killed by, I don't know, a cannon shot to the face or something. I need a way for me to come back. Could you help me out? And the ferryman's like, yeah, sure. What do I need to do? And he's like, well, you just need to drink this potion, die. No biggie. But I think the ferryman was already in a position where he must have got into a battle, maybe with Flameheart, who knows, got into a battle with somebody and was already dying anyway. So he kind of said, well, all right, I will do this for you. And in the process, and I think this is where the daggers come into play, I think the daggers in Ramsay's back are not daggers that were given to him in, like, when he was alive. I think they are daggers that were given to him, some sort of ghostly phantom daggers that tether him to, like, the real world, so to speak, rather than the phantom realm. And they were given to him by the ferryman once he drank this potion and became the ferryman. And then the deal is that the Pirate Lord can continue to live on in his tavern, but the ferryman had to continue living on the ship and ferrying the lost souls back to the real world, so that the Pirate Lord can continue to be the greatest pirate in all of history. That's a kind of.
What do you think about? So going off of Tall Tales number 7, we tracked down the spirits as a result of the ferryman's lantern from the crew of the Morning Star. And I have, full disclosure, I haven't had time to be able to do that one again, to be able to go listen to all of the I was journal hunting last time I did it, and I didn't get a chance to go and read all of the dialogue from the crew members. But there's 3 of them.
Yes, exactly.
And they were looking for the Shores of Gold and the Shroud Breaker.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought to think about them, actually. Yeah.
So that just kind of popped in my head. And
the one thing I do remember them talking about, though, which I thought was a little bit laxed, I think, but a couple of them talk about whether they want to go back to the real world or not, or whether they're just going to carry on in the spirit realm. And I was I was sort of like, what? Wait, what? How does this work now? What? Like, they've been dead for God knows how. How does this work? It's weird. There's lots of loopholes and things that need to be clarified about the lore, and I think that's one of them. It's like, what? I don't understand it. He's just going to come back. I don't understand it.
Yeah. It's interesting for sure. And to kind of wrap up on this topic, because there's one quick thing that I did want to mention for everyone before we head out. Is the overarching theme of Briggsy and her skeleton captains trying to have the curse of the dead lifted from them.
Yes, yeah. That is very interesting, that. Yeah,
so do you think that they'll, because in my mind, and a lot of this kind of goes based off of some of the stuff that I was thinking about, like what could be coming in the future of Sea Thieves, is I feel like the next update that we'll probably be getting will probably be tying around the merfolk based on the hints. And then I think after that, we're going to have a visit from Wanda the Warsmith, or Captain Warsmith. And then we'll probably see Flameheart. That's kind of my tentative theory on as far as like content update goes. And this is all kind of stemming from, you know, what I think they want to do with some of the stuff that we have in the game, but also this idea of the curse of the, you know, becoming an undead skeleton being a possible thing that could be lifted. And that just never occurred to me, because we've been slaughtering these skeletons for so long that it's hard to think like, you know, these are people. And a lot, and these people have memories, and these people don't necessarily want to be undead. They want to be pirates again. They want to become regular pirates. And it makes me wonder if, you know, if we can find this cure for being an undead pirate, that might introduce a way that we could have a way to control the curse, which kind of goes back to the cosmetic thing that we were, being able to have it for certain parts of your bodies and stuff. But what do you think about, like, you know, and just to kind of preface this, I've been reading some World of Warcraft lore, and there's a lot in there that talks about the Forsaken, which are a group of the faction for the Horde that are undead. For anyone that doesn't know World of Warcraft, anyone that's read that book knows that there are a subsect of that Forsaken that have their memories of being humans and want to be reunited with their living counterparts. And that started getting me on this thought about, you know, like the curse of the damned on these skeletons, and how they retain their memories, and how they don't want to necessarily be undead again. Do you think that we would ever see a time where we would be going out to actually try and cure some of the skeletons as opposed to just murdering them?
Yes, I do. I think next time we see Warsmith, I think it's going to be a somewhat friendly encounter where she's going to come back and say, I mean, this is a really sort of relaxed version of the lore, but I think she's going to come back and be like, hey guys, my bad, sorry, you know, I did some bad things, but I don't like being a skeleton, you know, I miss having, you know, dinner and stuff. Any chance, I've heard about this curse you can lift, could you come and help me out, you know? And I think there's going to be a whole campaign leading around her where you go and find some sort of artifact that lifts the curse. But I think this is what I want to happen, not necessarily what I think will happen, but I think that the Warsmith's going to come back. We're going to go looking for this curse. We're going to go try and help her. And then we're going to finally find the place where this curse is. But, where this artifact is to lift the curse. But it's actually missing. And then later on, we're going to find out that Flameheart has been amongst us all the time. And he already had the curse lifted. And he's, I don't know who it'll be. I think you're probably thinking the same lines as me.
I think, yeah.
But he's going to be, he's been here all along, and he's going to reveal himself and say, you know, you caught me. Well, yeah, I've been here all along. I know all about your secrets, and it's going to sort of launch this whole new campaign where this person that we always trusted is actually our main villain, and he's been with us from the start.
Well, someone that everyone else trusted. I've been calling this dude out for a long time. Yeah. And the day will come when I am vindicated, and I will be so happy that I'm like, see,
exactly.
Why were we doing this stuff?
Yeah, it would make perfect sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would love that.
I mean, we don't know. We don't actually know what Flameheart looks like as well with flesh. There's no pictures of him or anything. So and I mean, you know, he could be a rather large fella because, you know, without his flesh, he's just going to be bones, isn't he? So
look, all I'm saying is you can't call it the Bilge Rats faction if there's only one Bilge Rat.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I love it. I think that's awesome. I would love to see that. I would even push you to twist it on its head and make the Warsmith the new Flameheart, and have Flameheart being the one that wants the redemption. for realizing, because everything that happened to them was all kind of pretty, like they really weren't asking for it. Wanda kind of feels like she's asking for it. She even had the quote unquote true pirate code in her workshop. She's the one that kind of sought out this power, and I feel like Flameheart kind of stumbled across all this, and if anything, I would actually be kind of interested to see his kind of introduction, and then have them kind of play out the twist at the end where you find out like he's actually sending out these crews to try and find this artifact to bring back. He's having them go out and bring tributes to the skeleton forts in the hopes that one of the things that they find is in fact the quote unquote special artifact that removes the curse of the damned, so that they can become human again, like Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
He just needed true love.
Yeah, all along.
Yep.
Fade to credits. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. I would end the show on that, but I do have the one little bit of information that I wanted to put out to people, and I don't know how hard you're working on this. I haven't gotten a chance to really work on this, but have you seen the Pirate Legend weapons that are available for the arena stuff?
Yes, yeah, have you?
God, those are sexy.
They're nice, very nice.
They're absolutely amazing, and I wanted to let people know about this, and then hear your kind of rebuttal on this. But I found out that on around the time of June 24th, they're changing the requirements for grade 5 to be able to get that. So if you don't know, in your Pirate Legend, you can get these Pirate Legend weapons, which look amazing. To be able to get them, you have to win first place for 240 arena matches, which is a fair amount. But on towards the end of June, I'm not going to set a date because they've set a date, but we don't know if that's going to be actual date or not. But around that time, they're going to be reducing it from 240 to 100, and anyone who has completed 240 by the time this change is implemented will automatically be given a unique version of that. But one of the things that I didn't realize was when I went back and reread the forum posts that they put out there is that once you hit 240, even after the update, you get the unique cosmetic for those weapons.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice, because at first I was kind of freaking out, like, how the heck am I supposed to get 240 wins when I haven't been focusing on the arena at all? But if you hit it after the update, you still get that cosmetic. So I wanted to let everyone know. Are you happy with this change? Because this is different.
Yeah, I mean, it is very different, and I think I can imagine what those weapons are going to look like as well. Because we did get those these anniversary weapon, the mug and the blunderbuss and everything, which were exactly the same model as the ones we've already got, but they were more elaborate and glowy. And I think that's basically what we're going to get. They're going to be. But to be totally honest, I think what they should give to the people... I think what they should give to the people who get 100 is just a little jar of salt, quite frankly. I mean, I'm not being horrible or anything, but they're called legendary for a reason, and you need to do something pretty legendary for them. I mean, it's a good idea what they've done, but in the perfect world, I think they should have just left it as it was, because getting 240 wins in an arena is a pretty legendary thing to do, and you get a reward for it. But I suppose now they've got the two different tiers of it, so I guess it makes it a lot more fair, so people can get the 101, so they can be the they can be the bilge rats, and then the other people get the even better ones. But yeah, it's an interesting way to do it. It is, and
the reason I'm saying that it's different is for those that don't pay too much attention to this. Typically, Rare would offer a special reward for people that hit a mark prior to a date. And say, like, if you got the overachiever sales, it was because you completed a certain number of things in the game before a certain date. And if you hit Pirate Legend before the anniversary update, you got a special thing. This is the first time that I've really seen them do something where they're like, we're changing this, and if you achieve this even after the date, you still get the cosmetic. And I feel like I tend to prefer that a lot more, because it does. It kind of gives you a short-term goal, but it also gives you that long-term goal. And they're just letting you know, like, before the date, if you get this, you'll automatically be given the long-term goal because you've already achieved it. So I'm kind of happy to see that change, but I do agree. I think that the 240 is fine. It's something that you work towards. There's not many long-term goals in the game that you can really work towards once you've hit kind of Pirate Legend, once you've kind of hit Athena 10. There's not too much of a tail to work on post that, outside of some of the harder to get cosmetics.
Exactly. Yeah. Need to have more stuff like that. Need to have more ridiculously elaborate things to work toward. I mean, like for example, the Athena 10 cosmetics, the what I like to call a lampshade costume, but they could have a completely different color scheme for that. They could have like the Devil's Roar version of that cosmetic, but you need to do the same amount of achievements, but in the Devil's Roar, just as an example. But it would be nice to have some really sort of far-flung things that you really need to invest like ridiculous amount of time in to have, just so that they can, they can go ahead and have things like that. So
yeah, and I think having like the expanded cosmetic color variants is a great idea. I think they need to really kind of push to have all of the cosmetics in the game have one or two different versions to choose from, as opposed to just the one variant and live with that. Because there's a couple ship liveries that I would love to have like the colors actually flipped on to be able to give you that option. And if that was something like, if that was tied to a commendation, kind of like with the Hunter's Call, I'd totally be fine with that. I wouldn't mind grinding out something like that. To kind of wrap things up, last week I asked one of my viewers who gave some good information about the game, if he was a robot, and People's Republic responded back. He wanted me to know that his kids wanted to let me know that his kids said that he is not in fact a robot, but they did kind of wish that he was a robot so that he would not sleep and they could spend more time with him. So I did want to see if you would be willing to thank them with me, Aiden and Case. If you're out there and you're listening, thank you for letting me know that your dad is not in fact a robot. I too am very disappointed that he is not a robot, because I could do with more robots in my life. I feel like I've been kind of shunned for having robot friends, and I definitely am very grateful that you gave on that information.
Maybe he could maybe they could try and get him to become a robot. I mean, we are in the 21st century right now.
That's true. I would be okay with that too. I look forward to hearing more information about the further convergence of your father becoming a robot. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on was Evil Monkey got upset at me because I didn't give him, or I didn't talk about the hint that he had for people who were fishing for pondies. He mentioned that if you go out to some of the forts like Crow's Nest or Hidden Springs Keep, you can actually fish at them fairly quickly for pondies, and sail south and turn in fairly quickly to the North Star Seapost. And I would agree with like the Crow's Nest and Stephen Spoils. If you're looking for a quick way to make to get pondies without having to deal with skeletons, go to some of the inactive forts that have ponds, and utilize that space, because that's a great way to kind of work on those commendations as well. You've been doing the galleons, the fishing galleons, right?
Fishing barge, yeah. That's basically what we've been doing. We've been going to Hidden Springs Keep. We've been all stood around that little pond area and hauling large amounts of pondies. Last time we did it, we had at least about 138 of each type of pondy, apart from the sunny ones, because they're. But and then handed them all in, and we got about 10% XP.
It's completely balanced.
But no, it's good fun. It definitely has a good way to it's a nice chilled out feeling as well. Apart from last time I did it, I was soloing, and there's usually a rowboat that's in the center of that lake as well, so it's good because you can stand on the rowboat. Really stupid rowboat placement, but still. You can stand on that rowboat, and then you can load that rowboat up rather than running backwards and forwards to your ship. Or you can sink your ship so nobody knows you're there, and you can load up the rowboat and come back with your ship. But I was doing that the other day, and the fort popped whilst I was stood there on this rowboat. So I'm there listening to some nice chilled out music, like, oh, this is nice and relaxing. All of a sudden, the skeleton comes at me. I'm like, what the hell? And I look up, and there's a skull looking down at me. I'm like, oh, crap. And then there was
really?
And then what I was having to do was I had to bring my sloop over, get hammered by the cannons a few times, and then I had to run backwards and forwards from the fort with skeletons firing at me left, right, and centre, trying to pick out these fish from this rowboat so I could take them back. And it turned like a really nice chilled out session into some of the most stressful gameplay I've had for quite some time.
Oh my god, that's
awesome.
Yeah,
so just be careful when you're at the forts. That's probably the lesson to be learned there.
Can you imagine like what that must look like if it was like real life and your pirate is just like trying to hold on to all these fish, like open arm, just kind of holding, and these skeletons are like, and you're like, no, I'm trying to get him over there. Leave me alone.
I'm not trying to take your loot. That's just my fish. I want my fish.
Let me have the pondies. I'll leave you be. And they're like, get away. Yeah. God, that would be hilarious. I would love to see that video.
It's like the intro to a new Pirates of the Caribbean movie. It's the sort of thing you'd see Jack Sparrow doing.
It's true. Yeah. Oh man, I feel like there are so many good stories from Sea of Thieves that could translate well into a movie.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I've kept you for way too long. I wanted this to be
fine.
like around an hour. It's well over an hour and a half. To tie things up, Falcore, where can people find you if they want to find your content?
You can find me on YouTube at Captain Falcore, and you can also find me on Twitch at Captain Falcore. And I'm also doing Facecam now as well, so you can take the mick out of how stupid I look. So there you go.
Awesome. I love it. I think it's hilarious. I still want to see that eye patch, by the way. I want to see how it works.
I'm gonna test it out, see how it works. I've got one of those halo light things as well, because the lighting in this room is terrible. So, but that's coming tomorrow, so I'll set all that up and see how it works. But,
man, you're gonna be like a proper streamer soon.
Yeah.
It's going to be insane.
I just have to start. I have to start getting all the quotes down, don't I? It's that thing.
Yeah.
When people have been subbed for 3 months, you don't say thank you for 3 months. You say thanks for the 3-inch sub. That's
yeah.
I don't understand that.
Thank you, Beard. Thank you, Beard. Again.
Can I? Yeah. Can I just end though by saying one thing, and that's
sure.
Hi, evil monkey.
Oh my god. The inside jokes.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to get a hold of me, you can always do so at CAPT_LOGUN on Twitter. You can always email me at CaptainLogun@gmail.com. Feel free to join my Discord if you want to join in the conversation for the Keelhauled podcast. If you want to talk to Falcore and all of his friends and family and followers, you can always join his Discord. I'll have both links in the show notes, as well as contact info for both of us. That's going to do it for this episode of Keelhauled podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. If you did, feel free to let us know. There's plenty of ways to do it, like I mentioned before. Can I do the like and subscribe thing? That's not a thing for podcasts like it is for YouTube, is it?
Go for it.
Okay. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell for the notifications too. Until then, pirates, thank you. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.
Subscribe to Captain Falcore.
Oh, that's staying in.